Hey guys, my name is Gareth and welcome back to my Finance Fitness YouTube channel where I break down personal finance, investments, real estate, stock markets and help people on the journey to financial freedom. So if these are topics that interest you, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can also click on the notification bell so you receive an alert whenever I upload a new video. Cash is king, right? Well, Ray Dalio, who's one of the most famous investors in the world, says cash is trash. Could he be right? First, when Ray refers to cash, he's looking at it more from an investment perspective as opposed to a business or commercial perspective. So here, cash and cash equivalents really refers to things that can be easily converted into cash or that mature in the very near future. So for most of us, this will be things like physical cash, maybe some money in the bank or a saving account, maybe certificates of deposit or money market investments. And in case you're not familiar with who Ray Dalio is, he's the founder of the biggest hedge fund in the world called Bridgewater, and he's also the author of the book called Principle. It's a really great read, so I have included a link in the description. Ray is often interviewed on television, and at the World Economic Forum earlier this year, he made a statement saying cash is trash. Now many people, including myself, were quite surprised by this statement because it really goes against the more commonly known cash is king phrase. So why did Ray say this? Well, central banks around the world have been printing massive amounts of money, and there's this risk that could lead to inflation, and that will result in a decrease in the value of the cash that you have. And it will mean that each year you can buy less and less with the same amount of cash. And the amount of money that central banks have been printing are on levels to just blow the mind. This chart shows the balance sheet of the US Federal Reserve, and you can see a really sharp increase from around $4.1 trillion in February 2020 to over $7 trillion by mid-August, less than 6 months later. So that's a total increase of over $3 trillion. And that sounds like a big number. I mean, as a reference, since Ray made the statement in Switzerland, that $3 trillion is 4 times the annual economic output or GDP of the country of Switzerland. Also, it's 3 times as much as the total quantitative easing we saw during the 2008 global financial crisis. So there's a concern that the increased amount of money printing could reduce the value of the dollar and lead to inflation down the road. Now, the US has an inflation target of 2%, and this means that they expect goods and services to increase in price by 2% every year. Or the other way around, that the US dollar would decrease in value by 2% every year, and you can purchase 2% less goods and services with the same amount of dollars. And this is one of the reasons why Ray considers cash to be trash. Another reason is that with interest rate near 0% in the US, most developed nations, and even negative in some countries, you just don't generate much return by leaving your money in the bank. There is just no payoff to keeping cash or leaving money in the bank. And this makes cash a rather unattractive asset class to invest in. You also have this opportunity cost because you could be generating higher returns if you're investing in something else instead. I know a lot of people who are very risk averse and want to keep a big portion of their wealth in cash, usually in some sort of a saving account. And if you look at dollar saving accounts right now, you're probably getting around 0.25 to 1% interest, which is less than an inflation target of 2%. And this means that you're actually losing money every year because the interest you're getting on that saving account is less than the decrease in the value of that investment due to inflation. And so Ray was highlighting that these cash type of investments are just not really worth it in this low interest rate environment. But many people still consider cash to be king. So what are some of the benefits to holding cash? Cash can act as a buffer during times of financial difficulty. Maybe you have a big unexpected expense pop up, like a medical emergency that you need to cover. I have a friend who had a family member in a really bad car accident in a super remote location, and they needed a helicopter to airlift that person and get them the medical care they need. But because of delayed with the medical insurance evacuation and the life and death situation, the family decided to privately get a helicopter to perform the service. This required a substantial cash payment up front, and I can tell you it was not cheap. but luckily because they had the cash reserves, they were able to quickly do it, and this really contributed to saving that person's life. You can also take advantage of opportunities that present themselves if you have some cash. This is one of the big reasons why I'm trying to build up my cash reserves right now. You have the US stock market at all-time highs. Gold has reached the $2,000 level. Cryptocurrencies have bounced back. And all of this despite a very gloomy economic picture, rising unemployment, many countries in recession, tensions between the two biggest economies in the world with US and China, and we've also got American elections coming up in just a few months' time. All of these factors can cause a drop in the financial markets and present an opportunity, if you have cash, to pick up great deals. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It takes me about 25 hours to prepare a video because I want to fill it with good content that's really useful to you. So your support in helping grow this channel is much appreciated. So it's really important to consider what perspective you're looking at cash from. There's a channel on YouTube that I like to watch called Valuetainment, where they were responding to this Ray Dalio statement of cash is trash, but looking at it from an entrepreneurship and business owner perspective, where they consider cash to be king. Cash is the life of a business, and having a healthy cash flow is essential to running a successful business. For an investor with a diversified portfolio, cash is not as attractive because the inflation impact and the poor returns, as Ray already explained. Or if you're a family on a tight budget, having enough cash can be the difference between making it through the month, being able to pay your bills and provide for your family, or not. So it really depends on what you need the cash for. So if Ray is saying you shouldn't be investing in cash, what else could you potentially invest in? If you're trying to protect yourself from the effect of inflation, then maybe investing in stocks or exchange traded funds, ETFs, could be a good option, because here the long-term returns have exceeded inflation. Over the last 90 years, the US stock market has returned about 9.8% every year, which is way above the 2% inflation target of the US. Or maybe you can look at real estate, because you can increase the amount that you charge your tenants in line with or above inflation. And with interest rates so low, bonds become unattractive because the returns are just not that great, much like you have for cash. This is actually one of the reasons why Ray Dalio is a big fan of gold, because of its safe haven status, and it's been a store of value for thousands of years. And that could be an option for you too. I recently did a video where I talk about gold and compare the views of Ray Dalio with that of Warren Buffett, so I've included a link in the description in case you're interested. Ray Dalio has for a long time been a big fan of diversification, and he suggests having a balanced portfolio with global exposure. So by implementing some of these, you could reduce the opportunity cost of holding cash. But this is an individual decision, and you need to see how much of a cash buffer works best for you. So what do you reckon? Is cash trash, or are you planning on holding some cash? As an investment, cash is not great, but keeping some cash could be a good move, because it'll help you through an emergency situation, and you can take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. So that's it for the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll see you next week.